Good morning, kings, queens, everything in between. Welcome back to another episode of the Peasant Party podcast. I'm your host, Charlotte Warren. That is our co-host. Say your name.
I'm Annabelle.
Audio.
And I'm the co-host.
Yes, you are.
I decided.
What's new with you?
Not much. We recorded a really fun episode yesterday, actually.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. It'll probably come out before this.
Yeah,
the Spencer episode, if you guys haven't listened to it, if you are someone who only listens to the episodes with just us, I really recommend the Spencer episode. It's it's bantery and good in the best possible way.
No, he's a super interesting person. I mean, that like, aside from his podcast, like he has just had a crazy life and done a lot, and I do think it's like super interesting. You know, I think he's sorry,
he's like a
giving away your age, but I think he's
47,
yeah. And like doesn't look it, but also never married, doesn't have kids. So it's like, I don't know, he's just lived like such a full life doing all kinds of other stuff. Like, I just love talking to him.
Yeah, it's self-defense. If you've read the book Gift of Fear, he used to work with Gavin DeBecker. He owns his own private security firm.
Are we drinking Prosecco in the morning?
We are.
It's literally 9:40 right
now. Well, I was going now. I went looking for, orange juice, like a little thing of orange juice. They were only big jugs. So I was trying to do mimosas. That was the idea.
That's so fun.
But
because it's today Juneteenth, so you're off work or what?
Yes,
nice.
I'm off work. But
very nice.
We're
celebrating slaves being freed.
Yes, so I guess, hooray. I'm glad the slaves are free.
I'm so ignorant. I did not know that Juneteenth was a celebration of abolition. I thought it was civil rights. It's abolition.
Fuck. We're gonna sound super ignorant.
I
think it is, but I think it's also like the day everybody knew they were, because the newspapers.
I'm sure it represents both, but yeah, okay.
Anyway, slavery is bad.
Slavery's bad,
and yet civil rights for all.
Hey, I just listened to like a 4-part podcast about Thomas Jefferson.
Yeah, how was it?
He was a freaking idiot. He was a freaking guy.
Oh my goodness.
He sucked. Yeah.
Anything else new with you?
I got Botox, so I'm looking in the camera a bunch and raising my eyebrow to see how it's working, because it doesn't start working for a couple days. You know, it takes a little bit to set in, but it's looking good.
I'm wearing the tank top that makes my arms look like sausages. I brought like my sweatshirt.
How dare you? How dare you say that?
No, like I brought my sweatshirt, but one of the ads was like, please wear athleisure, and so I.
Oh really? I'm in athleisure right now.
Exactly.
With my cowboy boots.
Exactly. We're doing little like rapid fire questions today. How seriously are you supposed to take "Hey girly" messages? I have always heard about these, but never received one myself until now. I recently got into a relationship, which we hard launched with a photo on both our profiles. I got the message 3 or 4 days later. The timeline mentioned by this girl doesn't indicate he was technically cheating or anything, but my relationship is very new in general. However, according to her, they were basically hanging out and going on dates up until a week or so before we made it official, and then it seems like he ghosted her. I don't recognize the girl, and my boyfriend has never mentioned her. They don't appear to follow each other, but it seems like he liked a few of her old photos. Is this something I should be considering before continuing to stay with my boyfriend? Is this a red flag? Should I bring it up to him, and how?
Don't recognize the girl. My boyfriend has never mentioned her. They don't appear to follow each other, but he seems to have liked a few of her old photos. Okay, well, to me,
that indicates like they don't follow. Like a lot of people, like when you stop seeing somebody romantically, like you unfollow, but your old likes are still there. So I mean, that's like a thing.
This is tough because. Okay. When you are the receiver of the "Hey girly" message,
I guess like to go back, I guess to explain what I feel like "Hey girly" message is like almost become like a trope or a buzzword that you see online a lot.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, so a "Hey girly" message, and you see it on TikTok. It's like, and people will say like, "I got a hey girl," like with no other context. It's the "Hey girly" message, and basically in some way, shape, or form, it's you are in a romantic relationship with a man of sorts, just for you to get a message from some woman you've likely never met. Usually they start with "Hey girly" because it's meant to be helpful to you, basically saying, you, like me and your boyfriend, or I know somebody and your boyfriend, your significant other, have had some sort of a romantic thing, and I want to give you a heads up.
Yes.
And they're usually written very nicely, apparently. Like it's usually to help the woman, and it's kind of a woman, it's intended to be a woman supporting woman thing. I think the challenge with these like "Hey girly" messages, of course they all start with "Hey girly," but I think what a "Hey girly" message exists on a spectrum in general. Like there can be a version of it where you're married or in like a very serious long-term relationship with someone, and then you hear from someone who's like, I've like been having a full-blown affair with your significant other. Here's the receipts. Here's the proof. And it's just like a very clear sign this person's cheating. And then you can also get these like ones that seem a little more like entry level, I would say, like this, where it's like, you know, somebody very recent for a very new relationship. Yeah, like I think that they exist on it. What it is, the extent of them exist on a spectrum in general.
Yeah. Yes, definitely. I think, yeah, at its inception, it was sort of like, it's meant to be like a girl to girl. Hey, girlie, I saw or I heard that you are seeing this guy, and this is either my experience with him, what I know about him, or I definitely am talking to him or dating him as well. You know, so it's sort of meant to be like, yo, like, are we seeing the same guy kind of thing? But then hey girlie can also come off really condescending. So sometimes I feel like sometimes like it's not so friendly, which is like confusing,
I mean,
and frustrating.
like, yeah, I mean, like no one's gonna be happy that it's hard not to like let your anger show through regardless of who your anger is directed at, I would say.
But the reason why it sucks so bad, why people are like, oh, I got a hey girlie message, is because it's a lot of times it's like, oh, you're seeing someone, you're excited and you're stoked about it, and then fuck. No, please
I thought
don't
I found
tell
a
me
good one.
Yeah, please don't tell me he's cheating on me. Please don't tell me he's seeing someone or whatever. I got one the other day, but it wasn't like, it had nothing to do with my man. It was like some random guy had started following me and like liked a bunch of my photos, and within 24 hours a girl had messaged me and been like, hey girlie, I noticed that so and so follows you. I'm really trying to like warn everyone, like these are his like charges, this is what he has done. So just a heads up. And I was like, thanks girl, I'll block him. I think she dated him or something, I'm not sure. It doesn't matter to me, I don't know the guy. And I'm like, yeah, okay, sounds good.
Yeah,
you know, it's a forewarning, like it's a helpful thing, I think. But yeah, sometimes it just complicates things. I have a good friend from back home, and she received the hey girlie message. She like started seeing this guy and was really excited about him, super stoked. She was just like, oh my god, we're perfect together. Gets the hey girlie message from his ex, and his ex, it sounded honestly like she read the whole message to all of us. It sounded like the ex was just in pain, you know, over the relationship, and was kind of like, yeah, and he does this and this and this. And my friend was, I think she either didn't respond or said something very like curt and polite, and was just like, thank you for letting me know. Ended up staying with him, and like they are the perfect couple. I'm not kidding you. They are absolutely perfect for each other. Like they're like twins. It's so cute. And so like the hey girlie message like really was more of just like this girl trying to, you know, kind of impede him.
And I also think, because it's also like, there's probably that person on the other end probably has some sort of an emotional investment in it. They're also like in the dark, I would say. Like that's probably why this girl got it. She probably doesn't know how long of an overlap there was or what extent. Like, you know, for all she knows, like she was a girlfriend the whole time and she's just showing up. Like that's what happened. That's the consequence of ghosting people. Is like, I'm not saying like, you know, I just met someone else or I'm going to enter a relationship, is like there's kind of this blurred line of like, what was this when we were did I hook up with the guy who had a girlfriend kind of thing. I feel like, I don't know if this makes me not a girl's girl, I don't know, but sometimes like I could send a hey girlie message, but I won't, because I've kind of had that experience where like you try to warn a girl about something and she's pretty much like, hey, fuck you. Well, yeah, that's the other thing too, is like
she's gonna stand by her man, and now you're her enemy. Like she did not appreciate that message. And she is gonna turn a blind eye to whatever you say, and now you're her enemy, and you've made an enemy for you know, it's like you just, and sometimes it's also like, well, this guy, he sometimes sends me flirty DMs, or he likes my stories or whatever. Is that worth me like driving a you know, throwing a fucking wrench into their relationship? You know,
like I always like my whole little saying of like, that's how murder suicides happen, where it's just like, if I like, first I've never sent a message like that, like, but in general I haven't been in a situation where I'm like, holy shit, that guy had a girlfriend or something, where it was like, I was like, this is something like I feel so bad for that girl, like where I just like said nothing. Like I've had situations where I've been on a date and then guy kind of disappears, and then a month later on he does a hard launch of sorts. It's like that's where he went. But like,
yeah, I guess I've never dated a guy and then found out he has a partner either.
Yeah, like I don't like. I feel like I sort of don't track the slide. Like I don't know, but I've had randomly women that. Like, just kind of like what you're describing, where it's like guy who runs around liking a bunch of girls on Instagram, goes through and likes my picture. And like, I'm just kind of like, who is this random person going and liking my picture? Like, I don't follow the person back, whatever. And then just to like get a follow from a girl being like, hey, like, that's like my boyfriend running around liking your pictures. It's like,
like, hey girl, dump him. What?
But I'm also just like, how did these two people just show up like on my front door, just like with their like fucking weird relationship drama? Like it's just like,
I
had it happen. Like it was some dude that had a crush on me in middle school, like a real weird dude.
I wonder who.
And like I like you wouldn't even it was just somebody that was like weird that also had a crush on like Savannah Blake, like just like followed her around. It was a very weird. And then like I was on Instagram and I'm like, oh, that's the dude. He like followed me, and I was like, I'm not following this person back. Like usually I follow back people I know, and I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. But I think I had like a public profile. He went through, liked all the pictures, and then I like see like the little like message request thing flag, and it was like, what's up, I haven't seen this else. And I was like, I'm not responding to this. Like I don't know. And then like lo and behold, like I get a follow request like 2 hours, or a follow from like 2 hours later from some girl I've never seen. Just like, then she's like sends a message. She's like, how do you know so and so? Blah blah blah. And I'm like, these two fucking psychopaths. Like I sat there and just had an Instagram profile, and then these two lunatics showed up. I don't know.
Yeah. Ugh, spooky.
Yeah.
I think. Even then, I feel like I would maybe hold off. So. I'm trying to think of like context where I would send a hey girly message if I don't know either of them, you know, and he's just like DMing me or whatever. And sometimes like, you know, if you get an unsolicited dick pic and it's so like infuriating, it's just so non-consensual and shitty that at that point I might be like, hey, took a screenshot, sending this to your wife. Have an awesome day. Like, you know,
I feel like if you're dumb enough to just be sending like random dick pics,
if you're out here humiliating her like that, like
no.
then he's probably sending them to other people, and she needs to know.
What is the science behind like the motivation to send a dick pic? Like you're
exhibitionism.
Just, like,
I think it's exhibitionism.
There's got to be something fucking weird.
Although I did know,
like there's not even like I look hot today. Like I'm gonna
So actually, I think what it partially is, because I know two people. Who are no longer in my life. I actually freaking hate both of these guys, but they did that where they were like really big into just sending pictures of their dick, and partially is because they'll only do it if they like think that it's like an impressive size. For both of these people, it was compensating for their like shitty personality and also kind of general like unattractiveness. So they kind of are like, I'm going to shoot my shot. I'm not going to get this girl with my personality, with any riz. I'm not going to get her because of my pictures of my face. So it's kind of, I think, like a last-ditch effort. You're throwing your last-ditch effort first.
Hail Marys.
Yes, exactly. I think it's a Hail Mary.
Like,
exactly.
I don't know. Like, I just, it by itself, like, like, you gotta have the person attached to it matters more.
I have begged my man to send me a dick pic, and he won't. And that makes me want it even more.
I love it.
He's like, I've never taken one and I've never sent one. And I'm like,
I need it. You know, like I always joke because you have your recurring nightmare of like that you've signed up for a college class and then you forgot you took it and then you have to go take a final, or you missed your college final. Yeah. I also get dreams like that have come up through work, like growing up and whatnot. I get one because I've grown up with, like, if everybody knows, like, the tool Slack. Slack. Work message, corporate. Teams, whatever. I have this recurring nightmare that I accidentally post nudes to Slack.
Wait, oh my God.
I don't take nudes or anything, but it's just like a recurring nightmare of like, I accidentally posted nudes to Slack.
So scary. My coworker was just telling me about how, like, in her jujitsu group, which is massive, somebody accidentally posted like sex, it was like her and some other guy who's also in the group, and they sent it to the group message.
No.
And there's some debate about whether it was like the girl's ex who was upset or something like that. But yeah, and now they just have to, go back to jujitsu and be like, hey, sorry guys. Sorry you saw all the way up my guts, but
oh my God. So this happened at so I had my last company, and this is like a big tech company now.
No.
And it was like right when COVID hit. So I feel like there was like a lot of like blurred lines between like your work computer, your personal computer. And this gentleman was married with like young kids, like a manager. And randomly just like, and I think he's probably thought he copy pasted a different link, or like didn't copy a new link or something, was doing something the night before. Copy paste a porno from Pornhub of like MILF porn into like a public Slack channel for like customer success or something like that. And like,
that's kind of sweet, MILF
but it was very clear, like he and the wife were like probably having a movie night, and then he accidentally like, actually instead of Control C, it was Alt C when he was trying to copy a link for a support ticket, and then all of a sudden...
How many people saw it? And is it you couldn't get you couldn't get it out?
Like it was a channel, like it was more so that everybody had nothing else to do because it was COVID, and spread it around. Like apparently like somebody who like told everybody got fired about it. This guy didn't get fired. He was like fine. He was like, but he was literally, I think the story was just he and the wife just having a night in, and then work and home computer kind of the lines got blurred.
And so, wow, that's fascinating. So the person who kind of like made a big joke out of it and told everybody.
What they did was they were doing was they were like taking screenshots of it, and basically if the screen grab was a porno, it's basically like you're sending sexual images to like 10 people at the company who maybe weren't expecting that.
Yeah,
because they of course like screenshot it and then shared it to other people over Slack, and like
Ooh.
I know.
Rough. Why would you share it over Slack? Just text.
That's
text
the thing.
your boys.
I think the lines were getting blurred in COVID. Okay, our next like random little question. Is there any significance to a guy always watching your Instagram stories?
Oh my God. Oh my God. That's so funny. Dude, this week, we have 2 minutes to talk about this, 1 minute to talk about this. We're going to have to save this one.
We can go.
Okay. Yeah, that is such an interesting. I'm going to let you answer, because I know that you have like talked about this and thought about this a little bit more, like whether it means anything that a man watches your story. I say yes to some extent, but a lot of people I think would argue like it doesn't mean he wants you.
True.
It does not mean he, like him even liking your story, him whatever, like that. It's like it doesn't mean he wants you, but it does mean that he has some interest in you. I don't think it's necessarily like, it might be like, oh, it's like looking at a car wreck and I have to keep watching, which I think a lot of people watch my story for, but I've noticed, and I like will see people who don't follow me watching my story.
So that's why if someone doesn't follow you, that means like they typed your name into a search bar. Like there is a reason for it. Like that's the annoying thing about anything with social media is like the second you like point something out, people are like, well, why do you care? It's just social media. It's like you can notice like it's like so socially acceptable to be like, look at you're obsessed with social media, caring about. So it's like, no, these things like you notice them for a reason. But like, yeah, someone who doesn't follow you, there is always a story behind there. What the story is a mystery, but like I feel like sometimes I've been looking and I'm like, why is the ex-girlfriend of one of my exes from years ago looking at my story? Like, why was this person compelled to look at this? Like, there's a story here. So anybody who's not following you, there is a story. Now, regardless of what that story is, I don't know. But like, yeah, I think with anybody who follows you, not really. I think is there any significance versus like does it matter, I think are two different questions. Like the significance I would say is that if you're already doing like fire emojis back with this person, or you're sending them memes back and forth, you're going to show up first on their stories anyway, just because of algorithm stuff.
Yeah.
I think people sometimes just like thumb through stories.
But do you notice when it's like there's one dude who watches your story immediately? Every time?
Like it's people that I engage with, like it's people like, because that's who pops up, and then Yeah, like, so it's it pops up. I think the significance of it is this person has a phone that they're able to use. So if this is a person who's not texting you back and they're looking at your stories, it means they're not so busy that they don't have their phone. They didn't lose their phone. They're not dead.
Yeah.
They're bold enough. They like, people do know in the back of their mind, if you look at a story, like, it'll flag a person.
Yeah.
So they don't care. Like,
Sometimes
if they were really trying to hide, like, the fact that they hadn't responded to you, they would be like, oh, I got to make sure I don't look at this.
For sure. Yeah, for sure. Okay. If they're smart, men aren't smart. Women do that. Women, I feel like, are more aware of that stuff.
I feel like a guy who's trying to get away from a woman, all of a sudden he's smarter than you realize.
That's true.
Guys, they're like, I can't do that. Like, they're like, if she sees that I look, like, she's gonna know that I look. So it's like, they do, like, they are aware. So I think it's like a sign of, like, either he thinks that whatever you're doing, like, you don't care much about it.
Yeah.
And, like, he doesn't care, or he just doesn't care. Like, oh, cool. Like, whatever. She knows I've seen it. Yeah. I'm not responding.
Yeah. You know what's funny is I feel like I look more for, like, certain women who are watching my story than I do for certain men. I'm like, I don't give a shit if some dude is watching my story. But, like, this morning, literally this morning, I was looking at my algorithm because I have a business profile. And it was like, oh, like 49% of people who viewed your story yesterday are not your followers. And I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to look through that.
Oh, it is so, like, it'll be like 1% of all people, and I'm like, oh, let's go find that 1%. Who's the 1%?
Always.
Always.
But I have like dude. I mean,
you also have like something that people share a lot of, like,
close to
people.
2,000 watch my story.
Oh yeah, like, so
that's
how do you even keep track
lot.
of who's watching it? Like, I'm like 160 people.
Sometimes it's way less than that, but it also, like, if I post a picture of myself, immediately 2,000. If I don't have any pictures of myself for, like, a span of a few days, it's maybe like 500 or 600, which is so funny. But yeah, I definitely, like, noticed a bunch of, like, my boyfriend's, like, ex's friends watching my story that don't follow me and don't follow him.
The shares are always something I'm interested in. Like, when people share stuff, like, oh, I've caught people.
I know, and that kind of is so, like, that drives me kind of nuts because I'm like, fuck,
well, I do this. Like, I have a podcast where I talk about like, this gets shared with people.
True.
Yeah, there are certain cities that have flagged on the listening cities where I'm like, there's only one person that lives in this city. Like,
damn, you got their ass. Okay.
But I mean, like, it helps the algorithm, and also, like, if you're coming and listening to this podcast, like, hoping to hear an old story about you or something, like, I don't, like,
some ghosts of Christmas past. I got some ghosts of Christmas past that watch my stories for sure. Like, middle school freaks, like some of your old friends. There's one dude who always kind of vaguely bullied me a little bit.
Hate that.
Yeah, but he, like, follows me, watches all my stories, did, like, watch all my stories way before he followed me, is married now, by the way, to someone you know. I'll have to tell you about this later.
Oh, interesting.
But, and then he also followed my friend's, like, secret, like, erotic account on Instagram. Not erotic, but she does photography and social. It's like a little spicier account, slightly, just, you know, and it's on private, and he followed that, which, like, me and her are always like, if they follow if they found it,
they know things.
They are looking. Yeah. It's shady, it's weird, you know.
Fucking
super
some
weird.
people are just weirdos.
Some people are weirdos. Yeah, go for it.
One more question.
Okay, go.
Yeah. Is it wrong to only want to date women under 30 if you are 30 plus? I'm assuming this is coming from a man. It's Pride Month, maybe, you know, lesbians who like younger women.
Yes, because your Saturn return happens between 27 and 30, right? And that sounds woo woo, but it's like it happens when it's like an astro thing, but when you reach a certain age, I think it's like 27 to 30 is when you have your first Saturn return. It happens like roughly every 30 years.
What, your 10,000th day of life? Is that what it is? Your 10,000th day of life happens when you're 27. I don't know.
Maybe. Okay. Yeah, it's something like that. I think everybody kind of has like this general like understanding of it, you know? It's like how dragons exist in every culture, but they...
This is a great answer to this question.
Right? Well, I think everybody throughout all of time has kind of understood that, like, oh, when you hit like 27, 28, something changes, like, cellularly. Whether that really is just an organic, like, I've gotten older and I've had this many experiences, or if there is some kind of chemical change to the brain, I think that if you are like, I want to date people who are younger than 30, a lot of it has to do with like how they look, but also a lot of it has to do with their lack of understanding somebody who is over 30. Like their lack of like having passed through that barrier. You know, they have not crossed the threshold of like understanding the world in the way that a 30-year-old does. I really think that you go through a door when you are like 27, 28, 29. So
But 27, 28, and 29 fall
are all
into that
below
under 30.
But you know that if somebody who says, I want to date somebody who's under 30, they're talking 25. They mean 25.
So apparently, side note, apparently 25 is the most popular age on like any dating app because it's like the young people are okay with it, and then like older people, like a lot of people, it's like they're like, even people who want to date younger women, I feel like they're kind of like, I wouldn't want to go younger than 25, like if they're
Yes,
older.
I think
like,
wouldn't want to go
there's
younger
something
than
magic
25.
about that age, like
Hot, but a little bit more like you've
got
been
your
in the
shit
workforce.
together. Yes, yeah. So I like my answer to that question. Maybe is a little more like practical. Like, so first, I think it depends. Like, is it wrong? Like, wrong is like that's. I think maybe the wrong thing to ask. Like, it's wrong if it's under 18 and like non-consensual, or there's some sort of like built-in power imbalance. But generally speaking, like if there's that much of an age gap, there tends to be like by default. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I think the problem with people who are like, I want to date women under 30 is like, it's not like having the preference, it's how you communicate that preference. Like if you run around saying like, well, I want women under 30 because all women over 30 are used up and shriveled up and dried. It's like, yes, like people are going to be mad at you because you're being negative and rude. Like,
yeah,
everybody, like for the most part, like you shouldn't be like screaming your preference out loud.
Right. Well, and also I think when they do that, they truly believe in their heart that everybody is listening to them and being like, oh yeah, that makes sense because women in their 20s are hotter. If you are looking for someone who is in their 20s, there's a brain thing. Like you are looking for that personality as well. You are looking for somebody who hasn't experienced the world like as much as you have and has time to waste. I think that's the biggest difference is like you want someone young because they fucking have time.
So you know what I think is fucking hilarious though is like the people who are like, I want to date like younger women, like especially the older men that are like that say that. Like they want to have their cake and eat it too. We made up a buzzword called cake slut where it's like you want to have somebody with two traits that tend to exist at odds with each other. Like they'll be like, I want to like a woman under this age, but then they'll also be like, and she also needs to like, because they're always like, I don't care about careers, but then they'll say things like, you know, she can't be in debt, or like she's got to have her shit together, like keep a clean home, and like, you know, like to do crossword puzzles.
Yeah.
It's like,
and it's like you think like, she wants you, bitch. You haven't changed your shirt in 3 days.
Well, no, it's more like you want the traits of like a woman who is like has a life that has slowed down, but you want like the physical,
the vivacity
energy
of it too. Yes,
it's like you can't have it both. Like you're gonna get one that's a 20 something, early 20s woman, mid 20 whatever is gonna be less mature than someone over 30. Like they're gonna
period. Like, because that's how the development of the brain.
Yeah,
happens.
and so it's like that's just like me being like, I want some big city party guy who also wants to like get married and have kids tomorrow. Like there's just things that tend to exist at odds with each other. So I think like sometimes when people like, it's like, do you know what that entails? Like, why do you, I think everybody like should just ask themselves, like when you have a preference where it's like, I really want this, like ask yourself why and make sure that is the actual preference that you have like in mind. Like, I don't know. Yeah, I do think there's like like it's another thing that exists on a spectrum. Like I think there's a difference between a 31, 32-year-old dude saying that versus like somebody much older. Like, I heard a good answer to this once where it was like a 32-year-old guy who was just like, I've worked really hard. Like, I'm not in a rush to get into like a serious relationship. And like, it's kind of a numbers game. Yes, I am making assumptions about people, but like women that are, you know, over 30, it's like they want to move quicker. Like I'm the asshole if something doesn't work out. Like if I take 3 months and like, hey, I'm not ready for a relationship, but like, you know, that 24 to 28 age range, like, you know, they don't get mad when you do, like, they're not like, you wasted my time, my biological clock. And they're kind of like, it's a numbers game. And it's like, that was an answer where it was like, that's pretty like thoughtful. And like, that considers yourself. It considers other people. Makes sense. Like there's other people who have said like, there's no filter for like, you know, I don't want to date somebody who's already like a parent, like a single parent or something like that. And they're like, there's no filter like on Hinge or like a free filter that's for has kids, like wants kids, and they're like, it's just a numbers game. Like women over 30 are more likely to have been married and have kids before, and like, you know, you filter that down and you're less likely to see parents. Like they're like, I'm single, never married. Like I want somebody else single, never married. So it's like sometimes you see answers like that, and like that, I don't know, makes sense in some way.
Absolutely.
Yes.
That makes perfect sense.
Yes, it does. Just like astrology. I don't know. Oh, we're going over.
We're going over.
We gotta bounce, guys.
Okay.
But we'll see you next time.
We had so much fun.
So much fun. Bye.
Okay, ciao. Love you. Mwah.
Recorded a bunch of ads and we're wondering if the products actually work. I think
we're saying they do. So
yeah,
hopefully.
we're not gonna shit on anybody in particular. It's been a while, but one time we got these like energy bars and we were like, these give us so much energy, and then
wow, they have caffeine in them. All you need to do is eat one energy bar. You don't have to even drink any caffeine.
Apparently they had like the amount of like, I don't even know how many cups of coffee they were worth, but basically they were basically like laxative bars, and that was really fun. So
yeah,
I don't recommend it. Oh my goodness.
Oh my god.
Anyway.